Welcome to the Postville Yeshiva Alumni Podcast, where alumni share memories, experiences, and life lessons with the current Talmudim. We hope you enjoy.
Hello, Rabbi Levin.
Hello, Shalom. Can I know how to? Okay, first say hello to your nephew and to your neighbor.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
And neighbors and family. I was wondering if I'd see everyone or just you. So it's good to see everyone.
The camera didn't mess up a little bit, so I'll pick up the computer a second. You can see more what it looks like.
Which room is this? The dining room? Old dining room?
Old dining room, correct, yes. This was the old dining room, so I'm trying to be in here, but not in here, so you can see everybody else. Okay, so we'll begin. Just introduce yourselves, say who you are, how you ended up in Postville, what years you were here, B'chulu.
Okay, so I guess I wasn't really a Bachelor there, so it's a little different, meaning I was a Bachelor, but not, I didn't go there as a Sifta Bachelor or Zal Bachelor. I went there on shlichus, but I'm from Crown Heights, born and raised, went to Alitera, so I'm a proud, I guess, Aliteranic all the way through the end of Alitera Mesifta. Then I went to Toronto Zal, then I went to Alitera Shuv Dalad, which is where everyone goes, pretty much. It's even bigger now than it was before. Then I got sent to Postville, and funny story, when I heard the news I'm going to Postville, I was at home, and the people I'm going with tell me, oh, you're like Hani Lesha said Postville, so I'm like looking up Postville on the map, like where's the closest airport? How do you get a flight there? And I don't know, there's no flights to any of the airports around there, so obviously I was looking too close. I was I was looking at the little the little runways that they have around you guys, not and I didn't know you have to go to Milwaukee or Chicago or any of those places. But yeah, it was interesting, like an interesting thing to find out. Yeah, and then I was there 2 years. I think it was Ayin Vav, Ayin Zayin, Vav Zayin, as they say. Then
I retired. Yeah, one Bachelor.
It's old news, I guess. Sorry.
No. There's one Bachelor that keeps it fresh all the time. So he's very happy. Like a week, like 6 or 7 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were a shliach for both years.
I was shliach dorm counselor both years, 2 years. I mean, it was officially a 1 year gig, and I liked it so much we agreed for a second year. And I was hoping to do smicha the second year. I started it, didn't finish it. I did it later, but that was the plan, at least at the time.
Apparently, all dorm counselors have the same thing. Our current dorm counselors have the same idea. They came here to do smicha also, and he's working on it still.
Good.
Okay, so the Bachum always like to ask what are the craziest things that Bachum did, but they asked the guy himself. But you, as a dorm counselor, you could probably share more.
I didn't know. I don't know of anything that happened. I mean, anything that happened was under, behind my back. So no one told me about it. But if I'm not mistaken, some Bachum had their own Wi-Fi routers. I don't know. There was stuff going on, electronics being hooked up to probably Starlink before Starlink was a thing. I don't know. They had stuff going on, like connecting wires to stuff, and yeah, there's crazy stuff. I don't know, craziest. I mean, there's always stuff going on, especially between I don't know if I'm going to offend anyone, between the local Bachrim, that stay at home, and the ones that stay in the dorm, and the ones that stay at home obviously have more access to stuff. But Baruch Hashem, Postville is very isolated. Maybe not anymore. But it was then. it was very isolated. That's the coolest thing about it. It's there's especially the great people that run it, but there's you're in you're in a place and you're stuck there. There's no just running out for whatever you want to run out for.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you, since you were in other yeshivas as a bacher, coming as an older person looking down at the yeshiva, what would you say was unique about the yeshiva in Postville versus other yeshivas that you were in? Besides the prat that you just said.
Yeah, that's probably the main one. And I think, Alitera Mesifta, there's it's a little different now. Alitera Mesifta at the time was in Troy, and I would go home between breakfast, lunch, and supper. So it wasn't very good for me. There was no dorm, and now that they're in Remsen or whatever, so they're a little bit farther out. They have a dorm, and it's probably good, but it's a huge operation. I don't know how many Bachram are there this year.
35.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the better things. I mean, anyone that went in Shir Aleph, I thought that was very brave, going literally venturing out to the Midwestern America, middle nowhere, and just fighting it out for yourself. That was pretty cool. But I just thought it's a great yeshiva, and it's individual attention. If you want to learn, you can learn. You don't want to be distracted. Hopefully you're not distracted.
Mhm. So you mentioned before, you told me when I was speaking to you about this idea that you currently now you work in financial advice and something like that,
Yeah, I do accounting.
accounting.
I could tell you, I could answer a couple of your questions with this question. I think one of your questions that you like asking was yeshiva a waste of time? So I don't think yeshiva was a waste of time entirely. I wish I would have used it more, as I'm sure most people that are after yeshiva times they say, I don't know, they say, oh, I wish I could go back to yeshiva for a week or whatever, and everyone that's in yeshiva.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Is there anything that I could have told you? I wasn't your teacher in your Masifta. Anything that anybody could have told you that would have actually made you utilize your time more besides the same spiel that you're saying now?
No, I think it comes from within. It's discipline from within. If someone's a discipline bracha, and I think everyone has their time. I think, I mean, for me personally, my best years were Shirbei's and Sifta and Shirbei's Zal. Like those 2 years, I worked like a horse. I was really productive. I did most of Masechta Shabbos, like the extracurricular, like what was it? So like a mitzvahs to do stuff. So I did that in Shirbei's Masifta. I did Psachim. There was like a test that I didn't have to take because I knew it so well. Like the teacher fired me about that. So there's years that I mean, no one expects that that you're going to be perfect all 7 years or 6 years of yeshiva. It's not. I don't know if that's. I mean, again, it depends on the bacher, but I think for the average person, you're going to have your ups and downs, and between I don't know, Hanukkah and Pesach, maybe there's a longer stretch, so you could do more, but then you're thinking about the summer, so you end up doing. You get distracted. I don't know, but what is there that someone could say to make you do it? I mean, there's yeah, it's a very opportune time. You get to sit and do stuff. Almost no responsibility.
So you're saying that it wasn't a waste of time because you learned then, but you're not in this. You're not in shlichus right now. You're not teaching now. You said you're an accountant. So
Yeah.
do you think that your years of yeshiva, your productive years, they help you now in your current position now as an accountant?
Like line by line, no, but yeshiva got me because I went through the system. Even though I don't know if I was the most ideal bacher to make it through the system. I mean, I probably could have had. How do you say it? I don't think anyone would have been surprised if I dropped out at any point, basically. But I'm the type, at least my personality is, if I start something, I'm going to finish it. So I was like, no, to have a davar shalom, I want to be able to finish yeshiva and go on shlichus and do this stuff. So I did it, and because I did all that and a lot of other little points, I mean, I was able to walk. I mean, I thought it would be harder than it was, but I walked away with a bachelor's degree, even though I was never taught a word of English. Like I said, I went to Talmudic my whole life. So I walked away with a bachelor's, and that helped me get my master's in accounting, which I mean, and smicha. So.
Shalom, what does a bachelor's mean? What does a master's mean?
A bachelor's is officially your first 4 years in college. In the Goyish Welt, most people, they're done high school and then they figure out which college they want to go to and they apply to a whole bunch of places. You can go in-state, out-of-state, whatever it is, and then you can waste 4 years there. Or you can be very specific as to what you want to do. Most 17-year-olds don't know what they want to do. If any of you guys know what you want to do, then start working on it. Like that's all I can tell you. Like you don't need college for that. You can work, you can learn and do the information that's out there is endless. So if you know what you want to do, great. You could go for it. If you don't know what you want to do, I'm saying like Middle America, you're gonna go discovery program. You're gonna get a bachelor's in something. So unless you want to, you're going for doctor, lawyer, accountant, something like that. Usually, you're gonna do your first 4 years, whatever that is, and then you're gonna walk away with a bachelor's in something. It could be in medical science, it could be psychology, it could be law. But law usually takes more. Law is, let's say, 5 years or 6, 7 years, and accounting usually is a 4 or 5 year program. I'm one for doing things the most efficient way. So I got my bachelor's in Alitera, and then I went to a program that accepts that bachelor's, and I took a master's. A master's is like it's almost like the next level. It's almost lahavdil afadalis, but it's almost like dayanos after smicha. Like you could do smicha and then you could do dayanos. I don't know. Do I have to explain dayanos?
Yeah, they're very good. They're very good.
Yeah. So that's the idea. And I guess the hope for me is that when someone looks at my resume, they don't say, wait a minute, you have a bachelor's in Talmudic Studies and then you got a master's in accounting. How did that happen? Usually they just look at what did you do? Your master's in accounting, Mustami, you did everything. So I can't, but again, I work, my controller's a from Yid also, like my neighbor actually. I'm sure some people in the crowd know him, the ones from Postville. Sorry, the ones from Houston. Sorry, the ones from Houston know him. He went to 5 years.
Your controller?
The controller is like the financial person it's like the boss of the accounting part of the business.
Explain what's an accountant and what's a controller. What does that mean?
Okay, an accountant can mean a lot of things. It could be someone that does your taxes. It could be someone that audits a business, and not necessarily for a bad reason, just in order for the general public to trust it.
The business. Sholom, you're speaking way too quickly. It's straight from what does taxes mean?
I don't usually teach this stuff, but okay. No, I appreciate the feedback. In accounting, you can do and that's why it's if anyone would ask me what's a good degree after you're done and you're married and whatever, obviously with the Rebbe's brachas and everything, what's the most useful general degree that you could probably get that'll help you yom yom in life? Not in life, in business. It's an accounting degree. Why? Because accounting is, you could look this up. It's not my line. It's Warren Buffett's line. It's the language of business. If you wanna work in real estate, you wanna buy a business, sell a business, run a business, open a business, take over a business from someone, anything like that, you're gonna have to know that language. Now, Baruch Hashem, we're all Yidden, and we have a Yiddish cup, and it's not rocket science. It's hard, and to get through the program is not like I wouldn't say it was easy, especially I did it when I had 2 kids already, so it was difficult. But it's worth it, and it's something that's it's worth pursuing just because it's like I said, it's a language of business. You're gonna sound smart, and it's negated to you also. You're gonna learn a little bit of taxes. You're gonna know not to get. I should be careful. You shouldn't get messed over by the government. They want your money. You don't want to give it to them. We're Yidden. We like to. There's better stuff to put your money to, not the government. So hopefully this doesn't get out. But anyways, but there's better stuff to use your money for, and if you know how things are supposed to work, then you can have a leg up and have an advantage in the world. That's basically it. So that's what was I going with that? That's you could. There's people that do your taxes. They're usually accountants. They know the accounting. They know the tax law. That's their specialty. There are people that look at the books of a business, that look, what's going on, how are they following the rules, is what they're saying true, and that's usually an auditor, and that's usually like let's say Amazon, everyone's favorite company, right? Amazon says they have $47 billion in inventory. How do you know that's true? Like, how true is it? And you want to trust them because maybe you want to invest in them, right? Or you want to invest in any of the top 500 companies, S&P 500. How do you know that they're being accurate and true? So you have auditors, and there's a lot of rules and regulations that the government placed, due to many times that people got messed over, but they put in rules in place to hopefully find over. Now, let's say Amazon says they made $8 billion this year. Let's say $8 billion this year, and you say, wow, that sounds great. What if it wasn't 8 billion? What if it was $7,990,000 or whatever? Like, what if it was that close? Would you care? Probably not. You would say, whatever, 8 billion, a few billion here, a few billion there, it's not going to make a difference, right? But if it was 4 billion instead of 8 billion, you might be upset. So that's what an auditor looks at. How accurate are their books? And as long as it's within the realm of normalcy, that's what they're looking at. I don't know if this part's boring, but I could skip it over. But then there are people that work in the business itself, and they're the accounting people. They're the ones that set up the books. They're the ones that record transactions. And you have to know, to work in a business, like in that function, you have to know the stuff. So there's many different levels. There's the accountants. There's the people that don't necessarily have a full accounting degree, but they do accounts receivable, accounts payable, side subject, not that important, but it's who you owe money to and who owes you money, basically. And then, as you work your way up, you can have a senior accountant, and a controller basically runs the department of the business. So the controller in my business is a Yid. He went through 5 years of proper college here in Texas, U of H, University of Texas. And I don't know if he was saying it to make me feel good, but I don't think so. He was saying most of his stuff was a waste of time. Like like most of the classes he had to fill in 5 years worth of stuff, and not everything was exactly accounting. He had to obviously, he had to do niche stuff in governmental work, like very weird, you know what I'm saying? So for him, like if he could have gotten away with it in a different way, maybe he would have. But I mean, maybe it's good. He learned more, he did more, but he doesn't think there's an advantage to going through the whole. You know what I'm saying? If you could get away with going through the yeshiva system and only getting a master's, it's beneficial. Or you can use part of your yeshiva credits and connect that and finish a bachelor's in accounting, and you could also go that route. Whatever really floats your boat.
So his job right now, the reason why you can't do that job is because of you don't have the credential?
No, I'm much newer in the business, and he did audit. He worked on businesses for 15 years, and at a certain point, most people end up leaving. It's called public accounting, which is basically companies that work on other companies' books and checks them. So what I was saying about audit, so he audited companies for 15 years at a medium-sized accounting firm, and at a certain point, it's kind of tough. It's long hours, but that's how you learn. I'm saying you really get to see a very broad range. You get to see a company that literally I don't know. I mean, not necessarily. You'll see all of them, but you'll see a company that builds rockets. You'll see a company that like my company, we sell potatoes. Very exciting. You'll see companies. You'll see it's very important in the Jewish world. Potatoes. I'm saying I don't know how Pesach's coming up. It's very important. Anyways,
you don't work for like a whole bunch of companies also?
No, so right now I work for one company. I work for this company that they sell all sorts of commodities, but the main thing is potatoes.
So this controller is part of this company also?
Now he is, yeah. So he left public accounting, and he's the controller now of this company. It's kind of like it's a standard way of going about a career. You can stay in audit your whole life. He still does audit. He has his own audit thing on the side that he does also, smaller stuff, not like you're not gonna audit Amazon with your small side company. There's 4 big ones that usually do all the big companies, but there's many other companies that want that need audits too. I'll give you some examples. If you are a public charity, like a big meisid, that I'm talking about a real one that doesn't hide behind that they're a congregation, that they don't have to show their books to anyone. If you're a real charity and you have to, if you look when you drive down the highway, I mean, you shouldn't look, but if you look and you see a poster, American Red Cross, right? How do you know what American Red Cross is doing? How do you know how much of your donations actually going to people in Gaza? I don't know, I'm kidding. But how many where's the money actually going to? How much are they paying their CEO? How much are they paying the guy that runs the money? How much are they paying all the people in charge? Is every dollar you pay going 50 cents on the dollar to just run the company, and 50 cents for the contractor, which then goes to another contractor, like till it actually sees a person? Or are you giving it to a company that organization that 93 cents on the dollar goes to the actual end user? So organizations like that do audits. It's not a bad thing. We hear audit and we think, oh, like the IRS is coming after you and checking your taxes and stuff like that. But it's an audit is basically it's voluntary. You don't want to show it to everyone. You show it to the auditors, meaning you don't want to show every little detail, but you show the auditors and they have to be comfortable. Okay, how do we know this is true? How do we know that's true? And they come up with numbers that make sense. And if you pass your audit, then that's a very good sign. If you don't pass your audit, it's usually pretty bad. But there's in between levels too, but I'm not giving an accounting class here. But anyways, so you have charities, nonprofits that'll do an audit. You'll have companies that the banks, they come to a bank and they say, can we borrow, $100 million because we want to expand our business? And they'll be like, whoa, how do we know you have the backing for that? How do we know that we'll get paid back? So we'll say, oh, we have an audit. We're audited. These are our financial statements. We didn't just make it up. Someone looked it over. Professionals looked it over. They signed off on it. And now the bank has more reason to trust the company because we can see, oh, this is how the company's been doing for the next 10 years. This is their plan. And $100 million will help them double their business. So, we're going to lend them money with interest, but at least we know now there's something to hold on to. It's not like
because I'm never from within the company itself, right? That wouldn't make sense. you'll never have an auditor from within the company itself, because that's the same sheker that could be with the same company.
Yeah. That's
somebody.
The number one rule for an auditor is that they have to be independent. Meaning, even if let's say you have an auditor that's auditing a company, but they own 500 shares in the company, and let's say that's a substantial amount, they're negay b'davar, right? Because if they give them a bad audit, their share price is going to fall. Their value is going to go down. It's not so. The number one thing is you have to be free from bias, and you have to be as not connected to the company as possible.
Mm-hmm. So what do you have to do with the potatoes already? Like you have to count how many potatoes are being sold.
Yeah, 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potatoes. It's important. No, it just the money coming in, money coming out. We sell to big companies, Walmart, Costco. Those potatoes. One of the place where they grow it is Colorado. I don't know. It's not too far.
But it's not full. Idaho's potatoes. Idaho.
That's a different type of potato. Idaho potatoes are Idaho potatoes. Those are russets. And we sell gold potatoes, which are grown in Colorado, and they're pretty good, if you ask me. I mean, I'm negative over, but they're pretty good. We sell all sorts of potatoes, but that's the main one. That's like our variety. We
How many pounds do you sell a year?
Hundreds and thousands, like truckloads, literally. Like every truck is 40,000 pounds about, and we probably send out 10,000 trucks a year, maybe more.
No,
it's a lot of.
What's the husband? 40,000.
It's probably like 40 million. I don't know, somewhere around that number. It's a lot of potatoes. America runs on potatoes, and the number one seller of potatoes is Walmart. And if you want to know what the number one selling item in Walmart is not a potato, but it's another fruit or vegetable.
Which one?
Guess.
Tomatoes.
Apple. Banana.
Cucumbers. Tomatoes.
Bananas.
Really? Quick start.
Number one selling product is a banana.
Do they see an increase Pesach time that the potatoes go for more?
No, but we don't sell it for Yidden only. So it's the real busy season is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving and New Year's. That's the hot time to do potatoes.
Okay, you mentioned to me also that you would like to tell Bachram some tips on how to manage their finances, their money as Bachram now. A Bachram gets $100 a month from his parents, let's say, or $50 a month from his parents. If he needs some of it for laundry, somebody wants to buy some snacks here and there. You have any advice for him at this stage?
Okay, so I guess the number one thing that I think would be useful for Bachram to understand, and I'm not saying anyone here doesn't know it, but sometimes if you're in Shir Aleph and Shir Beis, I don't know if you're gonna appreciate it as much. Shir Gimel, it's a better chance that you'll chop, especially if you're I'm saying Shir Gimel should be around 17, right? So when you're 18, that's when you can start without your parents. I'm saying before you're 18, there's a lot of stuff that'll affect your parents' tax return. So just consult them before you start making millions of dollars. They shouldn't claim you on your tax return. But after that, I'm saying you can make money, you can pay taxes, you can invest, you can do stuff. So there's this concept called compounding interest, and the idea of compounding.
Say it slowly.
Compounding interest. I guess by raise of hand here. Compound, compound, like growing interest. Anyone here know what compounding interest is? Just by raising hand. I see one hand.
Love it.
No.
Okay, good. One person knows. But basically, the idea is that when you have money, and I don't know if you guys follow what's going on, but for example, Trump recently said he wants to make this thing called a Trump account. You put $1,000. Any kid born between 2025, I think, and 2028, any kid that's born that's born in those years, basically they should get from the government $1,000 put into an account. They can access it when they're 18 or when they go to college or either for retirement or whatever it is. $1,000 doesn't sound like much, but I think also there was the guy that started Dell, the Dell computer company. He pledged $250 for for like up to 30, the first 35, the first 25 million people that signed up for an account. Employers are considering matching some of the money too. And you can put in money for your kids, not you, but I'm saying people can put in money for their kids there also. Now the question is, what is $1,000 going to do for you, Shane? And I'm saying it's not such a big deal. But the number one thing with investing, and when I say investing, I don't mean picking Amazon or Tesla or any of the hot cool companies that everyone talks about. But more like investing in the general stock market, which is something called the S&P 500. Generally, that's like a thing you can follow. And again, if anything here is against hashkafa, let me know. Or 11 after the video could say Sheker Gomer, don't listen to him, whatever. But I think it's good to know about this, and I think it's important to say, like, obviously, how Jews live. I don't know how many of you listen to podcasts and whatever, all those things, but there's a lot of Jewish podcasts now all talking about finance, and it's very popular. But for most people that don't live in Postville and don't have a very low cost of living, and people live in Brooklyn, I live in Houston, so Houston's very nice, pretty affordable, all that stuff. But it's expensive. Baruch Hashem, it's very expensive to live as a Yid. I'm saying we send our kids to private school, to get a good chinuch, not a waste of time in public schools. So you pay what you get what you pay for. But it's expensive to live as a Yid. But if I have a strong belief that when between the ages of 18 till your first kid starts going to school, or even second kid starts going to school, which that's when it might start getting difficult, paying 2 tuitions, let's say, or kindergarten, babysitting, plus, things could start getting difficult then. But if you work on being disciplined and not like outlandish with your money, you can get yourself very far. What type of screen am I on here? Like, if I share something, would people be able to see it, or is it like a?
You should be, yeah.
Okay, I could share basically what compounding interest looks like, because talking about it doesn't really do anything. But share. It says I have to request it, so I sent a request to share the screen. But basically, the idea is that money you earn, and you constantly add to it, or you let it sit. Time is on your side, and you can get very far. That's basically what compounding interest is. And again, I am not officially, I'm not a certified financial planner. I am not, I'm not like that type of. There's different targets. Maybe I'll get it one day. Right now, I'm working on my CPA, which would make me a certified public accountant, which means I could sign off on audits and other stuff. Let me see if I could.
You need information, or just need a degree for that?
No, you basically need a degree. Yeah, you would need a degree to.
But information you already know now, probably.
I know a lot of it, but it's with these things. It's more like they're trying to make sure. It's kind of like it's making sure that people that are giving information are doing the right thing and not messing people over. And what they hold against them is that in order to practice, you need a license. In order to have that license, you need to follow the rules. So if you're not following rules, they could take away your license, and then you can't practice. It's kind of like a lawyer. Like, if they take away a law degree from you, if they take away your license to practice law because you did something very unethical or illegal, it's enough of a risk to not want to do something wrong for the general public. And if I start saying how many times people got messed over financially, Yidden, not Yidden, whatever it is, in Ladavar site, it happens. So that's another reason you have to know how to read what's going on. Anyways, so I'm gonna show 2 things here, and I'll show it both ways: Sai in investing and Sai in debt. And I think debt is also very important, meaning Bachrim, which then leads into real life, marriage, and all that stuff. They tend to get credit cards, and not everyone understands the ramifications of what it ends up doing. Now, just a little hakdama. I started. Let me see if I can make this as big as possible. So just to start, this is the S&P 500 is basically the top 500 stocks. There's many other categories of stocks, and I don't think one should like invest all their money in necessarily in only one place. But this is just for a primary example. This is the past 100 years of returns for stock for the S&P 500. This is the top 100 stocks, and there's Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, a bunch of companies. So every year, this is from 100 years ago. Every year, this is how much the S&P, the companies grew. And it's not just the growth of the actual stock. There's also dividends that companies pay out. But if you look here, there's bad years, there's good years. But if you take any like 20 to 40 year period or the entire period for the past 100 years, generally you're going to have over 10% growth. Now, the idea of this is that for the average person to sit there and start investigating how good the company is, what their finances, am I going to get a good return? Is the CEO good? It's very hard. So the idea is if your job is not full-time stock trading, you should probably just invest in something more general so that it kind of smooths it out. So I could show you that any point here, if I pick 20 years, 30 years, you'll see there's some very bad years. But there's also very good years. So it averages out to about 10, 11, 12%, depending on the time frame. So what I did, and I can't predict the future, but I took the last I think 40 years here, just to give it as a reference, and you can think of it as the next 40 years, which is usually someone's working life. Usually people work for 40 years and retire, give or take. So most people will say, okay, every year you're going to average 10%. I think that's a little bit I think that's a little bit inaccurate, just because but some years you're not. Like this is 2008. You guys probably weren't around for this, but the whole market crashed. It was because of mortgages, whatever. So that was a terrible year. But following that, there were a couple of good years. Then it was a little bit stale. Then it was a couple of good years. Then it was stale. Like the market has cycles. And as long as you have time on your hands, which is now you're 15, 16, 17, 18, however old you are, you have time on your side. And I mean, if you look, I'll show you a couple of examples. So this is 40 years. And if instead of 1985, you can pretend this is 2025 and this is 65, 85, whatever it is, 40 years from now. But I want to take real numbers just so you understand what I'm looking at. So this calculator is basically saying, so let's start with the first thing. Trump said he wants to give $1,000 to every single kid born now, and they could access it in 18 years, in 25 years, when they retire, whatever it is. So what do you think the end total is going to be in 40 years? Anyone want to give a guess?
No one has any clue. Basically, to clarify the question, someone would have put 1,000 years in 1985.
Even now, how much is it statistically going to be worth?
The numbers in 2025 from 1985, we'll understand from that.
Anyways, so if take away the years, you'd have that. So the idea is you have $1,000. How much would that have grown that year? And then you keep doing that. Every year you add a little bit and it compounds. So meaning now instead of just $1,000 having growth from the companies, from the interest, from all that stuff, you're going to have, you have 1,000, 13, 17, and then you have a little more, then you have a little more. You can see as you go up in 40 years, it's $100,000. So that's just from leaving $1,000. Imagine you put $1,000 somewhere, you forgot about it. I mean, maybe $1,000 sounds like a lot of money now, but $1,000 can't even get you a month's rent right now. So just to get your, once you start working, you'll see $1,000 is not a lot of money. It goes like that. So imagine you start working, you're making, I don't know, $20,000 a year, $40,000 a year, whatever it is. You take $1,000, you put it away, you forget about it. You wake up when you're ready to retire. I had money there. And boom, it's worth $100,000. It's a little bit crazy. Now, what if you did $1,000 and then you only added $250 every year after? Very small amount. That's not considered very sufficient to retire in the slightest. So before it was one contribution one time at the beginning of time, and you come back to it. Then. By the way, look at the difference. I put in 250 before, just a second, like you added, and it jumped up by $25,000. Just FYI. I don't know if you can see there. Now I'm going to let go, and this is basically adding in $250 a year at any point during the year. You're basically looking at $300,000. So So I'm just trying to show you that if you do that in over the course of a long time, which older people, I'm not that old, I'm 31, but I've been investing for a decent amount of time. As soon as I started investing, actually, like for real, it was right before COVID, and as soon as COVID hit, all my money was like down the drains. I could have said, "Oh, never mind, this is crazy. Why am I doing this? It's not worth it." But I held on, and you're not losing your money. You lose money if you sell it. If you don't sell it, you have the value there as long as the company doesn't go absolutely bankrupt. But that's why you invest in a diverse range of stuff. So this is a very, and it could be more, because if you start earlier, basically you have much more time in your hand. If you start at 18 versus 25, it makes a huge difference. If you start at 30 versus 20, it's a huge difference. Now, this is not very statistically accurate, because most people hopefully should be doing more. If you did $1,000 every year, you start off with 1,000 and then you do $1,000 every year, as you can imagine, it jumps up like crazy, almost $1 million. And this is 40 years. I'm not saying this is the exact numbers you're going to get, but as you can see, some years, especially as you move on, the poor guy, he probably had a heart attack here. His portfolio dropped by $100,000. But again, it's numbers on a paper, and you don't, it also jumps up by $100,000 very easily once you're talking about large amounts of money. So people say an average of 10% a year, but that's just an average if you do that. I could give you an example. If you take these 40 years, this just sums it up in the corner. The average is 13%. If I do any amount here, it's always going to be above 10%. It's not a guarantee, obviously, but that's how it is. Now, the other thing I wanted to show someone is, let's say you decided for the first, till I don't know, you're like Rabbi Levin, all of a sudden you had twins at some point. Your first kids are twins, right? And mamish, you started for a few years, but then you had twins, and it's too crazy. Like all your expenses double, everything, everything's crazy. So all you did is you invested, what is it, $5,000 in the beginning of time, and you mamish, you never could touch it again. You're still almost at $400,000. Now, what if you're not that guy? Actually, it's $6,000 because there's one here. But let's say you put in $1,000 the first year because you heard someone say it's a good idea, and then you said, no, you know what? You waited a couple of years, but then you came in later and you started doing $1,000 later on, and you started over here. You're still not. Now you're at $250 because time at this point is already not on your side. See here, the other person invested basically $5,000-$6,000. Here you're doing $26,000. It still doesn't reach that potential. It still doesn't get as far. If you start at 20 and let it sit, and even if you don't do it every year, but you do it when you can, you end up very far. If you start later, you're wasting very valuable years. That's all I'm trying to say. And it's the same thing with Torah. Your Torah compounds too, just to make it sound hashkafa wise. Yeah. So that's the one thing. Now, this you never really know what it is. It's up.
I was for a second. The credit compounds mean that you mean the interest compound, and all the interest that becomes part of your keren, and that grows together with it. You made 10% the first year, that becomes your favorite, and that grows also.
Invest the back.
That continues to be invested. Shalom, we never went so late. This is the first time we went past.
Sorry if I'm keeping you.
I have to ask the question by my regular. What's your favorite sip and all that?
Nothing.
No. Okay, but you have to finish up the debt and then.
Wait, can we get another shirt next week also?
What's next week?
Part two.
I'm happy that
Abacha's asking that Elon Musk said that we're not going to need money anymore because AI is going to make us all the money for us.
True. So you can make $1,000 or $2,000 bet now. Put away money. If he's right, then you don't need it, and it was only $2,000. And if he's wrong, at least you put away $2,000 and let it sit for 40 years. I mean, you don't think like it's whether you need money or not. I'm saying I think you will need money. I mean, again, the shliach Zeiten, I think a lot of things with AI and everything coming together, it does make sense. Like, everyone will sit there and learn Torah all day. There's nothing else to do. But as long as we live in before that, I think we need to do a little bit of a shtadlus, and it can make it a lot easier. Now, I guess one thing before this, another thing that would be very if I ever become a licensed certified financial planner or whatever, even a CPA, I would love to go around to yeshivas and convince Bachurim that before they get married, and all girls also, before they get married, they should stash away $10,000 for an emergency fund. And again, it sounds like a lot of money, but trust me, once you start working, it's not crazy. It just means not. If you hear my kids crying in the background, it's bedtime. I apologize. I know this is the only time you
his
have.
cousins, all his cousins.
For sure, they're very good. They're very good. But just it's bedtime. Just no. Yeah. So that's the idea.
Basically, only Shir Gimel remained besides one Bacher that's older from Shir Beis. It's only Shir Gimel that understand, and your nephew, obviously.
Yeah. So that's the idea. Now, just one last tiny point. Debt works the other way, but debt is consistent. Nobody's giving you loans for credit. The problem is credit cards. You can very easily mess yourself up, and in today's society, there's a lot of peer pressure, and there's a lot of like, oh, but we have to, we have to do this, we have to do that. So, one thing, if you're on the offense and you're budgeting and you're trying to invest and you're trying to be ahead of the game, that's very good on that side. But also on the other side, if you're not saving up money and you're getting married, and I don't know, you're like, I don't know if I'm making myself sound bad, but I didn't have anyone to turn to for when I was getting married, besides for KSCDK. But even that, like, I had to pay for a lot of stuff, and I didn't have a lot of money when I was getting married. I did go into debt when I got married, and as soon as I got my job with the Bachelor, I paid more than I probably deserved at the time. I paid it back and budgeted and did everything. And credit cards it's gonna be there, and they're there to get you. Like, they're there to make money off of you, whatever. So I put in the low amount, 20% interest. Which is low, but that's consistent. It could be 20, it could be 30%, it could be, you might be able to finagle a little bit with it, but this is showing if you start off with $10,000 of debt pumped after you get married, you only add $1,000. Obviously, this is an extreme example, but you end up in the millions of dollars. Obviously, this is extreme, but even if you leave $10,000, they're just a compound interest. It's a phenomenal amount of money that just keeps accruing because the same way you can make a tremendous amount of money if you're not careful with credit cards, it can work the other way. And unfortunately, yes, we have to pay tuition, we have to do all the stuff, but it does add up. I can make it even lower. I'm saying I can make it $5,000. But the point is, if you keep paying interest and you let it compound, it can have very detrimental results. Again, this is more extreme. This is 4 years, but even if you're $5,000 over the course of 10 years is a crazy amount of money. It's just something to think about. And
we have to do this. Baruch asking tons of questions. So even before you get your CPA, you're going to have another class over here. I'm going to finish with one question because we have to do this again because Baruch really have a lot of questions.
Doesn't look like a lot of guys are left, but I don't care. I'm just,
this is basically a whole Shir Gimel that are asking. They really want to know. Some without the Baruch too. But what's a they're sitting here.
Look,
we're 15 minutes into supper, and they're all sitting here still. 15 guys.
I hope there's something left for you. I thought this was like an hour.
It's because they're very interested, and I want to continue this, but we have to finish up because I have to go to supper. I have to come back. Quick question: what's your favorite tzikha?
So my favorite tzikha is probably bar mitzvah. Not that I know it so well, but anytime I hear someone saying it well, someone that knows how to talk and someone knows how to give it over. It sounds phenomenal, especially if you're in a Litvish shul where they love the lumdish and everything. Like, you should see them like wide-eyed and like it's something that if you learn it well and can give it over well, it's always a good thing to, like, sometimes they think Lubavitch doesn't learn this Gemara, I don't know, whatever. It's always a good thing. What other questions?
We'll leave another Jewish question for next time. Check it. That's it. Thank you very much. They're gonna go forever now. I need to go. Shalom. This is Mama Shalom.
You can leave it on. I don't know if you're allowed to leave the computer.
I put everything away. I leave the computer with the vacuum. You know what's gonna happen. We're gonna continue this another opportunity. Thank you so much.
After Pesach.
After Pesach. Thank you so much. You have no idea.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
Bye.